Humans consider themselves unique, so they've rooted their whole theory of existence on their uniqueness. 1 is their unit of measure, but it's not. All social systems we put into place are a mere sketch. 1 + 1 = 2. That's all we've learned. But 1 + 1 has never equaled 2. There are, in fact, no numbers and no letters. We've codified our existence to bring it down to human size, to make it comprehensible. We've created a scale so that we can forget its unfathomable scale.
But if humans are not the unit of measure, and the world isn't governed by mathematical laws, what governs all that?
Film a car speeding down a road. Speed up the image infinitely, and the car disappears. So what proof do we have of its existence? Time gives legitimacy to its existence. Time is the only true unit of measure. It gives proof to the existence of matter. Without time, we don't exist.
Time is unity.
Hello, FutureMan19 here, and in these series of videos entitled The Secrets of Creation, I will be proving the existence of a creator-creation relationship using only science, math, and logic. In this video, we will be solving the riddle that we know as time. I am sure most of you have heard of the Fibonacci Sequence or the Fibonacci Spiral. For those who haven't heard of the Fibonacci Sequence, the Fibonacci sequence is a series of numbers in which each number is the sum of its 2 preceding numbers. This was first discovered by Leonardo Fibonacci from observing the growth pattern in rabbits, which ironically has led us into this giant rabbit hole hundreds of years later. The mathematics of the golden ratio and phi are also intimately interconnected along with the Fibonacci sequence. This sequence that Fibonacci discovered is found in all of life and matter, from the smallest particles in existence to the greatest galaxies that we can observe. It is literally in everything, and when we study it in greater detail, we notice that after the first 60 numbers in the Fibonacci sequence, the last digit in each number starts to repeat, which then creates a 60-digit repeat pattern that goes on infinitely. I have always believed that patterns equal intelligence. If there is a pattern happening, then there is a reason behind that pattern. It's like taming an animal like a dog. The dog can be wild, chaotic, and even deemed dangerous because of its random-like behavior. But if you tame the dog and teach it tricks, you have intelligently created a pattern for them to follow. Same thing with the Fibonacci sequence. It is an intelligent pattern that all life mimics and follows. Even something as big as a galaxy follows this pattern. So what Lucian Khan did was take this 60-digit repeat pattern and simply put it around a circle. And this is where it gets really interesting. Have you ever wondered why we use 60 seconds in a minute? Or 60 minutes in an hour? Or ask why we use 360 degrees in a circle? Can you answer this? If you were to Google these questions, Google would not even be able to give you an answer. They would say that we simply adopted our timekeeping system from the Babylonians, which adopted it from another ancient race. But how did these ancients acquire this knowledge? Did they just pick some arbitrary numbers like 60 and 360? Here's a video from Lucian Khan who will explain it even further.
In his documentary, titled Precision, The Measure of All Things, Marcus du Sautoy, a professor in mathematics, tells us that the ancients used the numbers 12 and 60 to tell time simply because these numbers were so highly divisible, and that he loves this method because it is so mathematical. Watch this extract from the documentary.
They could measure 12 hours independently of the sun or the stars. But why count 12 hours at all? The answer lies in how business was done thousands of years ago. Throughout the Middle East, the number 12 and the number 60 were important in commerce. They're numbers that were familiar to traders in markets just like this. And the reason they used them is all to do with arithmetic. As a mathematician, I love the answer because it's about the mathematical properties of these two numbers. They're highly divisible. Take the number 60. I can divide 60 beans into 6 groups of 10 beans, 5 groups of 12 beans, 4 groups of 15 beans, 3 groups of 20 beans, 5 there, 2 groups of 30 beans, or 1 group of 60 beans. But take 100 beans, how can I divide that? I can divide it into 2 groups of 50, but divide by 3, I've got to start cutting a bean.
Because the numbers 12 and 60 were so familiar to Egyptians, it was perhaps no great conceptual leap for them to come up with a 12-hour night and day. So the idea stuck.
I am a great admirer of Professor de Sautoy's work and his quest to find answers to the greatest questions in our universe. I urge you to watch all his documentaries. They are very informative and he is brilliant. In my quest to find truth, I found that the Fibonacci sequence is creating the cycle of 60 numbers that repeat into infinity. When I arrange these 60 numbers around the circumference of a circle, I find that it creates a perfect human clock and even shows the 12-hour marks. When I add the sum of all these numbers, less the 5s and 0s that mark off the 12 hours, I get a total of 240, which to me signifies the 24 hours in a day. As someone who loves mathematics, is this not a better or more mathematical reason for using 12 and 60? Later on in the documentary, Professor de Sautoy goes on to explain why we use 360 degrees in a circle, as you can see here.
In the 15th and 16th centuries, as the mechanisms became more accurate, the clock face itself appeared, something we now take for granted. It then became possible to break down our day into even smaller units. For the first time, the hour could be divided into minutes and seconds. The idea came from the Greek mathematician Ptolemy, who divided a circle into 360 equal parts called degrees. He then split each degree into 60 minutes, and each minute into 60-second minutes. Which gave us the words we use today.
I want you to see what happens when I combine two of my Fibonacci 60-digit clocks together into a Venn diagram. Each clock is made up of 60 numbers. When I combine them into the vesica piscis, they immediately start to generate the number 360, which we use in our compasses. In this very same documentary, Professor de Sautoy talks about the elitist academic world and how these highly educated people don't easily accept new ideas when they come from an unrecognized or unestablished source. They don't see how someone who is not educated in their prestigious schools could come up with answers that they could not. I know that if I can get in touch with Professor de Sautoy, he will give this discovery some serious investigation. Could our ancient ancestors have known that the Fibonacci sequence is making a perfect human clock? Is this, in fact, why they used the numbers 12 and 60 as our units of time? If so, this discovery is going to change all our history books. But there's also so much more hidden in this Fibonacci 60-digit cipher, answers that could unlock all the secrets of time and space, which would not only change our history, but also unlock our future.
What Lucian Khan discovered means that we give our ancient ancestors far less credit than they deserve. When we put the Fibonacci 60-digit repeat pattern around a circle, something very interesting occurs. It creates a perfect human clock. Every 5 and 0 correspond to each hour on a clock. Every point opposite of each other adds up to a perfect 10. The Fibonacci sequence is counting out beats of time or recycling patterns of 60 digits in perpetual cycles. We have the 60 seconds, we have the 4 cardinal points, and we have the 12 hours clearly marked. And you know that our days consist of 24 hours, right? This is how long it takes our Earth to rotate on its central axis. And as we rotate on our central axis, we move from day to night. Look what happens when we split this Fibonacci 60-digit cycle down to its central axis. When we split the circle down its central axis, we get 152 on one side and 128 on the other. 152 minus 128 equals 24. This is where we get our 24 hours from. The Fibonacci clock is perfectly replicating time here on Earth. The Fibonacci sequence, that's mathematics itself. It's creating a perpetual clock that is recycling into all infinity, that is counting out beats of time that only applies here on Earth. This solves the riddle of where we get our timekeeping system, and if the ancients knew about this, it means that they were far more advanced than we even give them credit for. They knew a lot about astrology and mathematics, and their mathematics was creating a perfect human clock. But this is only the beginning of the mysteries being revealed from this discovery. There is so much more. I cannot easily convey to you the sheer brilliance and magnitude of this discovery. Mathematics is a universal language. This is known throughout the science and mathematical community. No matter where you go in this universe, mathematics will always remain a constant. The Fibonacci sequence is a mathematical series of numbers. Therefore, this series will be constant throughout the universe. But time here on our planet is only relevant to us humans. Only here on Earth is where we have 24 hours in a day, which is the 12 hours on our clocks times 2, separated by day and night. Only here on Earth have we broken each hour on a clock into 60 minutes and then each minute broken down to 60 seconds. How can the Fibonacci sequence just magically be creating a perfect human clock that recycles into infinity? How can this possibly be just random coincidence? You could be stubborn and believe that for now, but there is so much more hidden here that by the time I am finished with all that I have to say, you will realize that there can only be one conclusion, that the universe is a supremely intelligent design and not at all random chaos. The Earth does not have life by random chance. The Earth is mathematically unique and mathematically perfect. So we have finally solved the riddle of time and now know why we use 24 hours, 60 minutes, and 60 seconds as our standard way of measuring time. In my next video, we'll find out more why we use the 360 degrees in the circumference of a circle and reveal more of the mysteries of God and the secrets of creation using only science and mathematics. And I will also be revealing the hidden secret code that is in the Fibonacci sequence. Stay tuned for our next video in the series, 100% proof of God hidden inside Metatron's cube. Thank you all for watching. Take care.